Well, welcome to Click for IB Biology. We're looking at the exam strategy for the IB Higher Level Biology exam. And of course, there are two papers for this exam, and we'll examine the structure of each paper and give you some general advice on how to strategize. Just a caveat before we begin. Students who are not my students should always defer to the guidance given by their own teacher. I present this here as for my own students, but you're very welcome to watch along and make your own decisions. So let's take a look at paper 1. Paper 1 is a 2-hour paper divided into two sections, paper 1A and paper 1B. The two papers will be given out at the beginning of the examination, and there will be no interruption during the examination 2 hours to give you any advice on moving on from paper 1A to paper 1B. Students are free to begin any of the papers. For instance, you could begin with 1A and move to 1B, which would be traditional, I guess. But there is no reason why you shouldn't start with 1B. If you have completed one of the papers within the 2 hours, you are free at any point to move on to the other paper. So having completed, for instance, paper 1A, you are then perfectly at liberty to then carry on with paper 1B without doing anything else. Just pick up the second paper and begin to work through the questions. As an overview of the paper 1, there are 40 multiple choice in the higher level paper, and that gains you 40 marks. The maximum mark there are 40. We would recommend that you spend 60 minutes on this particular paper. Paper 1B will be worth 35 marks, and there will be 4 questions. These questions are data-based questions based on experimental work and aspects of the syllabus. The total number of marks, of course, is 40 plus 35, giving you a total of 75 marks. So we would recommend that you spend 1 hour on paper 1A and then 1 hour on paper 1B. Let's take a look at the covers of paper 1A and 1B as shown in the specimen paper. So we can see here that this identifies itself as paper 1A. The total time is noted, but we of course are recommending that you spend 60 minutes on this paper. That I have added this to the PDF. There will be 5 minutes reading time at the beginning of the examination when the proctor, or the invigilator as we say in British schools, will direct you to read the papers, but during this 5 minutes you are not allowed to use pen or pencil to annotate, draw anything on the exam scripts, or indeed just to begin any answers. You may not write anything in that 5 minutes. So in the 5 minutes you probably want to turn the pages of paper 1A and particularly go and look at the questions for paper 1B. You are going to select the best fitting answer for each of the multiple choice questions, and you will record that choice on a grid, an answer paper, which will be provided in the examination. You are allowed to use a calculator during this examination. The maximum mark for this paper is 40. Paper 1B. Paper 1B has a similar set of instructions, and as previously stated, should you wish, you are able to begin paper 1B and do that one first if you wanted to. Most students, I think, will do paper 1A to begin. We recommend that you spend 60 minutes on this particular paper, and the guidance which is given at the moment suggests that there will be 4 database questions. These questions are based on aspects of the syllabus, things that you have been taught, and in particular experimental work which you are invited to interpret, analyze, and answer the questions on. The total mark available for this paper is 35 marks, and you can use a calculator. Above there, if I could just circle this particular instruction, answers must be written within the answer boxes provided. I will go into this in more detail towards the end of this video. Higher level biology, paper 2. Paper 2 is divided into 2 sections, section A and section B, and this is clearly annotated on the examination paper. Section A contains a database question worth 12 to 15 marks. The content of this database question will be unseen, unstudied, and unfamiliar to you. They will then construct questions in which you have to carry out the analysis of the data, and you will use all the skills of data analysis that you have been taught and learned during your course. Having completed this question, you would then move on to the short answer questions, of which there will be approximately 6 of such questions. The total marks available for this section A is 48, and our recommendation is that you spend 90 minutes on this particular paper. Section B is called the long response section. Some people still refer to this as the essay section. There will be 3 questions presented, and you have to answer 2 of those questions, and it is your choice which 2 questions you do is your choice. The total number of marks for this is 32. Each essay attracts 15 marks, and well-constructed essays will be awarded an additional 1 mark. We recommend that you spend 30 minutes per essay, and that you take a total time on section B of 60 minutes. The total time available in paper 2 is 2 hours and 30 minutes, or 150 minutes should you prefer that. Let's take a look at the cover of paper 2. Of course, you will also be given 5 minutes reading time for paper 2, and we have a particular recommendation of how to use that 5 minutes, but I will present that towards the end of this video. You are directed to answer all questions in section A, which is the database questions and the short answer questions. And then section B, as you recall, you are required to answer 2 questions, 2 from 3 on the higher level paper. Answers must be written within the answer boxes, and as I previously stated, I will address this issue in a moment. A calculator can be used during this examination, and the total number of marks available is 80. We'll now move into just 1 or 2 pointers to remind you of your strategy in the exam. No doubt your teachers have furnished you with a large number of strategies for the exams, but we offer these as a reminder. Students should be familiar with command terms. These are otherwise known as action verbs, and these are listed in the IB Biology syllabus on page 124. You should use those as you are revising to understand the basis of past paper questions. In this particular question, you are asked to discuss an item, and I've incorporated here exactly what discussion means. And so you can see that this requires a balanced review of the arguments or the hypotheses, the opinions and conclusions, and these have to be presented in a clear and supported by appropriate evidence. And of course, this will be particularly the case in order to achieve the full mark available, which is always indicated in brackets at the end here. So 2 marks, this is going to require at least 2 distinct points. I did refer to these boxes previously. Students should write within the box, and what you must avoid is any writing which extends beyond the edge of the box, or indeed writing in the margins like so. Instead, if it's necessary for you to go beyond the confines of the box, then let's take the question number here. Let's say that this is question 9, part I. And so we go to the back of the exam booklet, we write 9I, and perhaps we might write continued, and then you continue your answer in the open space at the back of the booklet. It's important that you do not write over the edges of this box, because any such content will never be seen by the examiner, as the software which scans your exam only scans the box like so. So if you have more to say, or even if you wish to cross your answer out and retry, then go to the back of the booklet and put the question number there and begin writing. That will be scanned by the software. I did refer to section B, the long response section, and that you must answer 2 questions. Here I have shown just 1 question. So having decided that this is an appropriate question for you to answer, remember that you must answer sections A, B, and C, although not necessarily in that particular order. You will note here that the available marks are 15, but for candidates who give a well-constructed and coherent answer, there is an additional 1 mark available. And finally, we refer to the suggestion that in the 5 minutes that we have, the 5 minutes reading time at the beginning of the examination, our recommendation at Click for Biology is that you turn immediately to section 2B of the paper, that you spend your 5 minutes reading time judging which of the 3 questions you will actually attempt to answer, remembering you have to answer 2 questions. We would go further and suggest that on beginning of the exam, when you're told begin writing, that you actually go to the back of your booklet and compose perhaps 2 mind maps for the chosen essay. And here we would have 8A, and we have explained, so we're going to give the reasons and causal reasons of a detailed explanation of vaccination. And we suggest that at the beginning of the exam, you begin to very, very quickly write down the content that you would have a mind map on this particular aspect here. So we would perhaps be using the idea of phagocytes and lymphocytes and antibodies, and we would be thinking of primary and secondary infections and the nature of vaccines themselves. So we're creating a place in the exam where during the exam, having done these mind maps for your essays at the beginning of the exam, go to the beginning of paper 2 and commence the database question. During the course of the exam, your mind will be able to access details for these essays, and now you have a strategic place in which to write down your information. You may have experienced that in an exam, you recall something very important, and your intention is to retain that information till the end of the exam, but you will actually forget. And so here we actually have a place where we can write down our ideas during the exam. And indeed, you may find within the questions of the examination something that you can add to your essays. Once you get to the essay writing time, 30 minutes, then you just work your way through the logical order, because we're trying to not only get 15 points, but we're also trying to get that additional point as well. So those are just a few of the ideas that we share here at Click for Biology. And we, of course, know that your attention to our resources here at Click for Biology means that, of course, that you have gone through perfect preparation, and that's going to prevent poor performance. We thank you for your following our videos, and please do recommend our channel, which is growing with more and more resources all the time, to your fellow students who will take the exam next year. Please do give our recommendation. And if it's not too late, can we still ask you to smash that like button? Thank you for your attention. Good luck with your exam.